last week when we did the Tonglen, I forgot to, at my end, what they call pin yourself to the screen. So the whole recording was just little thumbnails of people, and I wasn't even in there, so people couldn't see me, whatever I do, gesticulating. So that's why there was no video last week. So very, very, very warm welcome to all of you. And we had the Tonglen for the people on the Tonglen program last week. But otherwise, for the teachings, we had a break over Christmas and New Year. So welcome back. And it's very nice to start a new year. It was good to have a break too. And so we have a fresh year, a fresh program. And I must say last year was, we had what, 40 something Saturday teachings. So I was able to cover a lot of very basic topics and the sort of things I would like to share with my students and people coming to Dharma. So this year, rather than sort of go back and do similar things again, because we had quite a good look at the Bodhisattva's way, I've made this program that you've seen on the website, where we have these first 2 sessions on meditation. And then we have a couple of sessions on the elements, which in Vajrayana Buddhism have quite an importance. They have a minor importance in general Buddhism, but in Vajrayana, they become very big. And then we go on from there to look at the transformation of our mind into an enlightened mind in terms of the elements and the mind poisons and all of these correspondences which are in life, the interconnections. So today it's about meditation. And so carrying on in that kind of theme, last year in our study of practice Bodhichitta, I did at least one session on meditation, how can you say, formally. It was Gampopa's teachings. Sometimes they look a bit dry, a bit academic, but it doesn't get any better than that. And I feel very safe passing on Gampopa's teachings. So that was kind of a more formal what I need to say if I'm giving a talk in general about meditation on the Bodhisattva path. Today and next weekend, I just want to share things more casually from my own experience. We'll start with some general things that I feel you need to know about meditation, and then carry on to some experiential advice from me about what I've seen over the years and what may be very helpful to you in your own meditation practice. And then we've got another session next week. A lot of that session will be devoted to exploring the Milarepa song I sent you in the support document, because it's a very interesting plunge into meditation in our Kagyu tradition. So having said all of that, then we are in a Buddhist teaching and we need to do it correctly. Good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Good in the beginning means we go into it with the right motivation, which is our loving care for all of our fellow beings, for all beings. It includes us. All beings includes us. And so that motivation, as most of you know, means having a big mind, a mind big in terms of inclusive. It includes especially all of those who've been big in our own life, our parents, our children, our siblings, our friends, our enemies, our lovers, those who've helped us, those who've harmed us, those who are what? Those who are part of our karma. Karma with those people has been hanging around for some time. It doesn't go away that easily. The karma is with them, but the karma with them is in us. And that's the important bit, because maybe they're gone and you'll never see them again. Maybe they're dead. Maybe they've gone away. But we carry those people inside us, and it's very, very important. We liberate anything that needs liberating about the time we spent with them, their influence on us, the karma we made, interacting with each other. We carry that. So we're taking it to the right place, to Dharma. So as we take refuge, remind ourselves of our Bodhisattva vow in the first initial prayers, then we think very, very much of the people and the animals who can also be big in our lives. And we include them with love, all of them, with as much love as we can muster, and with joy, because we have Dharma. Dharma is forever. Dharma is pure. Dharma will never harm you. It is the pure truth of existence. If it's anything else, it's not Dharma. It's what we mean. So Dharma is pure. It is harmless. When we take refuge in Dharma, we say, I take refuge in the Dharma which never causes harm. So we feel very happy that we are expanding our Dharma mind. And we try and listen and learn as well as possible. So let's do a few prayers. Sonje chodon soji chonomla jancho bado dane chapsunje. Dagi jinso jipe sonomje. Drola penchera sonje drug parashu. Semchen tamche dewa dang dewe jodang dem parachoche. Dongal dang dukngal ji jodang tralwara choche. Dongal mepe dewa dang pa dang men trawara choche. Nerin chadan netan tralwe. Tanyom chempo la ne paranjura. Doji changchen talon rodam mapa mela choche kampupa tu sum sheja kunchen kamapa chishi chunje jupa senamdam rita tsalsum padan drupa so zablam jaja chela nyanepe nyame drogan tapo kajula solwan dev so kajula manam chupa zeno nam tala jinjilo Shenno gongji kampara sumpa shen zeno kunna chakshen me patang sedye data chopi gongchen la neko shenpa me parijinje lo. Magu gongji gora sumpa shen mena te goji pe lama la jundu sowan depe gongchen la chume mugu jewara jinje lo. Yang me gongji ma shira sumpa shen gansha tope mungu summa de ma che dekara chopi gongchen la Om cha lo dan chal wara jin che lo nam dong ho chukru sumpa shin chiang ma yin chiang cha wala manga ro pa cha we gong chen la kode yerme to par jin che lo je wa kundu yanda lama dang cha me che ji pa la nong chu chen sa dang nam je yan ten rab so ne do je chang ge gong pa nyo tu shu Palen sawe lama rinpoche dage chewara pende denshula. Kajin chenpo gone jezonte kuson tuche madrop saldu sol. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'd like to start today just by inviting you to think a little bit and to think about what to think, to observe what comes up in your mind when I say the word meditate. If we say someone is meditating, or she's a good meditator, or meditation is what you really need to do. So, of course, we were, what, how many people? Well, quite a lot, 67 people. So I'm not going to ask each of you what comes up, although if we were a smaller group and in Samiling doing courses, I would. But it's important that we start with you and what you think of as meditation. And maybe you think of, sitting down in a posture, becoming quiet, or whatever. It's important you start there, because my job is to start there and take you somewhere where there's classical advice about meditation and things you need to know. So I did send this backup document. We'll be working from that. It helps me not forget things. But the main point of meditation, the main point is that it is a key tool, an absolutely vital tool. It is the main tool for achieving our Buddhist path. It's not something special. You go, you sit, you meditate. It's a separate department. It's just one thing where you get into a state, you sit down, you follow your breath, you do something, you go somewhere, and that's meditating. Something that's different from life, everyday life, different from you, you're in karma, or there's meditation where you go off and you kind of go quiet and mystical. It ain't that. It is the main tool for working with your mind, because all of Dharma is about the mind, who you are, your mind. First, we need to understand it. We have a long way to go there. There's more in there than meets the eye, our mind. And once you start going deeper, you'll find not only is there a lot more from this life than we ever thought possible, and it's not quite the way we were telling ourselves it was. We tend to tell our own story of me, our life story. We're great novelists in that sense. And we can write it both ways. We can write it very optimistically, where we're the hero of a story. But we can write it in a very sad way, where we're a victim of a story. Put ourselves down, and also we've done that. So once we start to meditate, then we take the lid off and we look behind the official party line story, the Politburo version of me, and we see what's really there. But then once you go a bit deeper, you'll find there's not just stuff from this life. You are a long story, and you've been going a long while, and you've got a long way to go. So our Dharma path, now this is what we need to understand. A path, a journey. What is a path? It starts in one place and it goes somewhere else. Otherwise, it's not a path. What is a path? You have to walk it. You can't just sit there and look at the path and say, oh yeah, that goes up the mountain. You have to actually walk along it. And then what happens when you walk along it? The whole scenery changes bit by bit. Your view of things changes. Where you were goes far behind. Where you're going gets closer. Where we're going with our mind on this so-called path is a pure mind, a peaceful mind, a mind without problems, a mind free from harmful karma, and in the end, free from all karma, a mind in its natural beauty, which is so magnificent, we cannot even begin to imagine it. My teacher, Hakon Rinpoche, said, if you could not imagine it, if you could get a little blast of Buddha mind, he said, you'd explode. We have to go bit by bit along the path. So that's our journey. And we saw last year, there are various Buddhist journeys. I think most of us here are on the Bodhisattva path, a wonderful path of freedom, loving care for others, where we become more and more useful to the world, less and less of a problem to ourselves and to other people. And gradually the wonderful things fall into place. So meditation is work with our mind. It doesn't need to be on a cushion. You don't need to be in a posture. You don't need to be doing something special once you're trained. It's whatever work with our mind we do so that we can follow our Buddhist path. So I made a list. What is our Buddhist path? I made a bullet point list. It says, it is a list, it is freedom, personal freedom from our suffering. So we're leaving behind something, suffering, and this causes. It's a transcendence. So we're going to go beyond the power of incarnation, of being forcibly put into one of these things, a body that you have to live in for the rest of your life, with everything that a body implies. You know, this bag of guts and blood and pus with hormones and all sorts of things going on that ages, and we're in one of those. How did we get here? How do you get out of it? Is this all there is? Is there anything better? All of that. We want to transcend the power of incarnation, to drag us where we don't want to go. We want to develop love and compassion for all sorts of reasons, but mainly because there is such a need for it. There is such suffering. And those in suffering need help, good help, wise help. We have knowledge, we have some wisdom. We want to develop that into perfect wisdom. Wonderful clarity of mind that just knows. Wisdom, like what we mean by a wise person. Somebody with experience and knowledge who's done things so much that they don't get them wrong. So nice. And we want to be able to have a lot and more to offer our fellow beings. So I made that as a list. There's a very, very famous quote from the Buddha. You'll find it in the Dharma Path. This is probably the most famous Buddhist text. The Dharma Path itself is a collection of very much smaller works. So it's in the Dharma Path, it's verse 183. And it gets interesting. So the original, gosh, I wish I could read Sanskrit. It's so nice. It's all full of A letters. So it looks something like Sabha papasa akaranam kusalasa upasam pada sachita pariyoda panam etam buddhana sasanam. It's nice. What does it mean? It's a three-part teaching, 3 lines and a conclusion. To avoid doing any harm. Ahimsa. To avoid doing any harm. To practice every virtue. All the good things. And to fully master one's mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So this is everywhere and is so often quoted by Tibetan teachers of all the traditions. So to avoid harm, to learn how not to create harmful karma, to learn how to not hurt our fellow beings, to learn how to no longer damage ourselves, to stop the harm. That's the Buddha's teaching. And then to practice virtue, the helpful things, the kind things, the things that really help each other, help other beings, help ourselves. Those first 2 are about right speech, right conduct in our interactions with others. And number 3, to fully master one's mind. That's personal. And it's what will cause all the other things to happen the more we master our mind. Now, where I said it's interesting is that when we go back to the Pali or the Sanskrit, that number 3 says to purify one's mind. Purify. To make one's mind pure. When the Tibetans got Dharma and they had to translate all the texts, they didn't, because they had a word for it, they didn't say to make one's mind pure. They said the same thing, but differently. To fully master one's mind. We make it pure by mastering it. Some say, some translations, because the word means that, say to tame one's mind. Sounds a bit severe. I don't know these days with all the things we've seen about circus animals and so on, you know, the harm that people do to animals to get them to perform. I'm not sure that taming is a nice word to use these days. Mastery of the mind is what it's about. But the Tibetans chose that because it's by mastering what is harmful inside us that our mind becomes pure. By taking away the impurities, the distraction, the scatteredness, the craziness, we get sanity, purity, stability, peace. So, meditation is a tool for our Dharma path. What is the Dharma path? To avoid harm, to practice virtue, and to tame the mind, and in particular, for taming the mind. So meditation is there so that we do 2 things. So that we first of all know ourselves, this famous injunction found in so many spiritual traditions. Know yourself. But then it doesn't stop at knowledge, because if you know yourself as you are just now and just stop there, well, it might be very unsatisfying. We need to know ourselves so that we can fix ourselves. So it's self-knowledge leading to self-transformation. And later on this year, the courses that follow are about the process of self-transformation. So that's what meditation is. If you're following the support sheet, I want to jump a topic for now and go to the terminology. Here again, what happened in the 8th century and then later on in the 11th century, 12th century, as Dharma went to Tibet in 2 main waves, is very, very interesting. Sanskrit and Pali have lots of technical terms for various aspects of meditation. So you have words for absorption, for evenness, for focus, and all sorts of things. Each has their own word, but there's no one word that really is the equivalent of what we say in English, meditation, which covers everything. So Tibetans did make a one cover-all term. If we did go to the Sanskrit, then the term that probably would be closest to the one general term for meditation would be dhyana. And just out of interest, you probably know that this word dhyana, dhyan, when Dharma went to India, they wanted, to China from India, they wanted to say dhyana, but you know, people in very far away countries have different ways of pronouncing things. And so they couldn't say dhyana, it became Chahan. Chan Buddhism in China. Chan is a deformation of dhyana. And when that went on from China over to Japan, there was another transition. It became Zen. It's very interesting how languages travel. Dhyana, Chan becomes Zen. So that word, dhyana, which means absorption, could be. But Tibetans, over the centuries, evolved a word. Now that's in you have it there. It's gom. Gom. Let's say it together. You don't need to turn your sound on, but it's a kind of a fruity term. Gom. 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 Can you say it? Gom. Now, gom comes from a set of words. The etymology has as its root gom, kom. And what does it mean? And it really tells us exactly what meditation is, what we should understand about Buddhist meditation. Gom means to habituate oneself, to become familiar with. And all of the different aspects of gom in Tibetan are that. And the Dharma path is that. We become familiar with our own mind and its habits. So then what is the mind? What is the mind? It's a lot. We think, we have feelings, we have memory, we imagine, we project. So much. So in Buddha's teaching, when we come to an analysis of mind, we have the 4 of the 5 aggregates, and then each of those has their subdivision. 4th one, samskaras, has 51 main subdivisions with lots and lots of different areas of our mind. So we need to become familiar with those. And as we become familiar, we will see that they are habits. Our thoughts are habits. Our emotive reactions to things, to people, to words are habits. Habit is so important. Some habits are tiny, they don't last long. Other habits we've developed over a lifetime, they will be hard to change, long to change. Some habits go back to past lives. They are tendencies of being that carry through from one life to the next. And they come through in children in the same environment, same family, siblings. It can be so different. So different. Habits from past lives come through. So meditation means changing the habits for the better. However we can do that, and working in all those areas of our mind, working with our thoughts, working with our immediate knee-jerk reactions to things, the feelings, the anger that flares up, the fear that comes, all of those things. Whatever is in the mind is usually part of recurring patterns, tendencies. They change every day. We're an ongoing, evolving story. It's being shaped. It's like a pot on a potter's wheel. Everything we think, do, the way we react is reshaping this story of me. So meditation is about wisely working with everything we are. So and we do what we do on a cushion, we do with special methods. in order to train, so that in the arena of life, when we're there, we start to develop better habits and get rid of the bad habits. That's part of it. So then I wanted to tell you, and this is very, very important, very low-key, nothing high philosophy, but very important, because I've heard this all my life. In the when I was chatting before the session started, I went back 50 years to India and Goenka time. And so my own meditating history is about over 50 years. And nearly all that time I've been in Dharma centers of one sort or another. I've heard lots of people talking about their meditation. And there is this thing, I had a good meditation. Very often when I hear that, I have a silent voice in my head which is saying, no, you didn't. Because what people meant by it is they felt good. They felt good. Now, feeling good isn't a good meditation. My own teacher, Akon Rinpoche, used to say, why bother meditating if you're just doing it to feel good? There are massage parlors, there are beaches, there are many things you can do. It's so much easier. Just go to bed and lie in a nice warm bed with, do so. If you want to feel good, do feel good things. Meditation is here to liberate our mind. And the point is this, it might be painful. We are not meditating for pleasure in the short term. We aren't. It's completely inconsequential. So in the more serious teachings about Dharma and Dharma practice, it says, consider the hardship of practice joyfully, like somebody going for a small operation in order to get rid of a pain. So I think today we'd say going to the dentist. I mean, it's not going to be nice. They're going to stick needles in you. You're going to like that afterwards. And then like this. And, let me know if you feel any pain, raise your hand. We know it's sometimes, and then sometimes open wider. I can't go any wider. I'm as wide open as I can be. He's trying to get deep inside there. So we know it's not going to be nice, but we do it because once it's over, then your abscess or your whatever you've got, you carry in your tooth, it's dealt with. You look more beautiful. You have less pain. So it was worth going through. Dharma, especially at the beginning, it won't be easy. So meditation, which is our main tool for Dharma, we're not doing it for ease. In practical terms, we want to come to know ourselves in a very healthy way. I'll come back to that later. And discovering the truth about our mind can be blooming painful. Really, really and truly. We would much rather disappear in nice space. That's like the massage parlor. We're not meditating to just be blissful and quiet. Now, especially if you're on the Bodhisattva path, Gampopa tells us, he replies to a hypothetical question. It's kind of type of question. Just a minute, Mr. Buddha. Let's see if I've got you straight. I've not just been reborn once or twice, but hundreds, thousands of times, right? Is that what you're saying, Buddha? I've got Buddha nature. inside me, the potential to be like you. Mm-hmm. And in those past lives, I must have met the Dharma and teachers again and again and again. Uh-huh. And Dharma's so wonderful. Uh-huh. So what went wrong? Why am I like this? And then Buddha says there are 4 reasons it didn't work before. So then these are, and then we see the response to those 4 obstacles, they're called, cover the 4 main categories of the Dharma we practice. But one of them is getting involved with the peace and well-being of meditation, clinging to it, getting lost in it. So nice. You can sit down, then once you learn to meditate, you find a peace you never had before. And then if you get more time to practice, it can go deeper and deeper. And it is so attractive. You're just drawn in and drawn in. And you want more and more. And then when we do dhyana, samadhi, absorption, it has an effect on all of our inner subtle body. We start to feel blissful. You light up, your cheeks go red, you feel suffused with happiness and bliss, peaceful and blissful. And there's a kind of thing with it that goes, well, this is what it's all about. This is where I belong. So if you have one of those, you sit down for half an hour meditating, then people come out there, I had a good meditation. They're coming out, they're looking all kind of blissful and rosy-cheeked and happy. And you know, that wasn't a good meditation, wasn't a bad meditation. There's only one definition of a good meditation. I heard this directly from the first Kala Rinpoche, from my own teacher, Akon Rinpoche, from Karmapa, and it's in the scriptures. Only one definition of a good meditation. You did what the instruction said. Whatever the meditation instruction was, you did it to your very best. Whatever, just a second, whatever the experience you had, doesn't matter, experiences come and go. Whether you were blissed out your brains, whether you were paranoid like nobody's business, doesn't matter. The only good meditation is one where you did the instructions. If it said, be aware of the breath and undistracted, you're aware of the breath and undistracted, nothing else. If it said, contemplate this, or whatever the instruction, you did it, that was a good meditation, full stop. Very, very important to understand that. So then that's why I put the next thing on the list was, well, what are the various main types of Buddhist meditation as a sort of training for life? So you've got the list. I'll go through it quickly because you have it on paper or on your computer or phone. But it's to show that we are using, meditation is there to address every part of our mind. So we are thinkers. We think about things, we reflect. So we have reflective meditations. Many of you have done what are called the 4 ways of changing the mind, where we think about precious human existence and impermanence and karma, cause and effect, suffering. So there, you're sitting down and the instruction is think. And not just think as best you've ever thought. Don't just read the words, but sit down. So what many of our students do is, for instance, for precious human existence, there are some 40 different topics. You have one sentence, one word for the topic. You sit down, you say it. I will certainly, or no, sorry, that's impermanence. But anyway, like this precious human existence should be used like a boat, like a raft. We sit down. This precious human existence should be used like a boat, like a raft. Then we think, what the hell does that mean? Why did whoever it was, Buddha, Gampopa, give that example? Where were they? Go back, we're going back thousands of years in Tibet. A boat. What was a boat in India? What was a boat in Tibet? What was a river? A river in Tibet's a huge deal. I've gone to Tibet, they got some powerful rivers. They're maybe not that big, but they are really scary. And you want to get to the other side. The only way to get across is a bridge or a boat. So in this case, we're talking about boats. No boat, you can't get to the other side. What is this side? What is that side? What's Buddha trying to say? This human life, what can I do with it? Where can it go? Where's it starting from? Who am I just now? And then, okay, this life is my boat. Its whole purpose is to get me where I need to go. But then what's it like? On a boat, crossing a river. Sometimes if the current's strong, you have to be skillful with the oars. And sometimes you have to be strong and really pull so strong that whatever the current is, and so on. So I'm not going to talk you through the whole thing. When you do precious human existence meditation, you do reflective meditation. So you take one idea and you sit with it and you bring it to life inside yourself by thinking. Other meditations, they say, is about not thinking. Awareness of the breath isn't thinking about the breath. Oh yes, the human breath. It's, and then it's not. Just aware of what's happening each second. Aware. So we have thinking meditations, famous ones. We have so much to reflect deeply about the four truths, the four great truths. The three marks of existence: impermanence and suffering, no self. And many, many other topics. So we don't just hear the Buddha's teaching, because meditation is about dealing with habits. We are saturated with information. You read something very interesting on Facebook or somewhere, beautiful teaching, you've read it. That's it, I've read that, you move on. How much it impacted you, how much it changed you? Probably very little. We're dealing with information all the time. So with reflective meditation, we learn how to take something useful information and work with it to reflect in a way which changes who we are. So we have deeper knowledge, deeper understanding. And then there's mindfulness, Buddhist mindfulness, part of a path. The foundation is called foundational mindfulness, is because mindfulness is the foundation of our meditation journey. So mindful means, well, I think we had some weekends on that. It's a big topic. But mindful means that while you're becoming more and more aware of your body and of your feelings and of your mental processes and of life in general, those four things, as you become more aware of what's happening and present with what's happening, so you're deepening your awareness, call it presence or awareness, with your body and with your feelings. And through that, we are getting rid of the habit of not knowing them, not dealing with them properly, being with them. But the main point of mindfulness is that within the awareness, we apply the Buddha's teaching. We are mindful. Our mind is full of the Buddha's teaching as we're aware of what we're saying, what somebody else is saying to us, the whole context. Yeah, it's that person, it's me, and we've already got a story going. You're aware of the power of speech and words. And then, but your mind is full of the Buddha's teaching about no harm, of bringing benefit, the power of karma, the power of patience and forbearance, and all those things. So mindfulness is actually a very skillful bit of engineering. We need to maintain awareness and presence, while at the same time not forgetting the Buddha's teaching, which is there in the back of your mind. I don't know if you can find a front side to your mind, or in the back, and a left side and a right side, but somehow in the back of our mind, if we say that, there is Buddha's teaching. And then there is shamatha, various forms of shamatha, and there are many forms of shamatha, and each with their own particular benefits. Shamatha using sacred objects as a focus. Shamatha using everyday things, a stone, a pebble, a candle flame, a distant object, a mountain. And then there's internalized shamatha, where we have imagined things inside us. And breath shamatha, many forms of shamatha. Shamatha, where you can use a mirror and look at a mirror image, and so on and so on. So shamatha means stilling the mind, stilling the mind. So there are many methods for stilling the mind. Now this is very, very important. So Gampopa in his teachings, when he talks about all the different sorts of meditation, and if you have the opportunity of a retreat, what to do, how to go about it, and so on. And he says there are many, many meditations, but really, in the long term, all of it boils down to shamatha and vipassana, to stilling the mind, stabilizing the mind, making it still, quiet. Still is the word. And then within that stillness, attaining wisdom. It's like a car, when a car is being fixed, needs to be fixed. Very hard to fix a car while you're driving along the road. You need to stop and take it to the garage. Sometimes put it up on a stand, put it up on chocks. When we meditate, our mind, which is so busy, we take into the garage. And then the motion is stopped. We find stillness. And that stillness is the place where we can develop wisdom. It's like lifting up the bonnet, seeing what's going on, adjusting things, fixing it. But the stillness is very, very important. What we'll find as we meditate over the years is that there is calm, but that calm is still moving calm. One meditation text says, at first the mind's like a gushing mountain torrent. It just rushes along and falls over little cliffs, goes down, busy, like that. And then it says in the middle, it's much more, it's finished coming down the mountains. It's joined with other ones. You have a long, slow river. Then in the end, you join the ocean. So we can attain calm, a calm mind, but it's a kind of a moving calm. It's peace, you're at peace. Kind of a fluid peace, going from one moment to the next. But then if we carry shamatha through, it's shamatha practice. We are stilling the mind more and more, but it is not samadhi, which is absorption. When we are absorbed, then we are still. There's nothing else. It's not a fluid feeling of total peace and calm. There is nothing else, which we call no distraction or one-pointedness. At first, our one-pointedness is full of effort. We are one-pointedly fixed on a candle flame or the breath. But then the one-pointedness, what happens through that, I hope this makes sense, is the mind internalizes and settles and becomes peaceful and blissful, but it's still something happening. But then there comes still, no movement. Then that's absorption. Sometimes you see on Facebook these days, they've found these mummies and they say, this person's still alive. Now they look like a mummy. They kind of got a bit of their mouth missing and they're not 100% there, but they say technically this person died in meditation and they're still in there. I wouldn't recommend it because you're never going to go back and use that body. You might be better off going to a formless state or getting a light body, or even if you get a human body, get a nice brand new one and start all over again. They say this one's been in meditation, one of them is 200 and something years, and it's a kind of dried up mummy. But this actually happened. This happened. They call them in Tibetan Buddhism, they call them gokpa. It's when you go into, it's like deep samadhi without an alarm clock. So just now, I was trying to share with you something about stillness, being totally still. Now that stillness is so still that there wouldn't be a way out of it unless you programmed in it from the time you go in. I don't know if this is making sense, but sometimes when you want to get up at 6 o'clock and you set your alarm for 6 o'clock, and at 5 to 6, your body wakes you up automatically because you kind of knew, I'm going to wake up then. So what happens when very, very good meditators go into total stillness, this kind of stillness, that kind of stillness, is they set it up for a day, a week. For instance, Gampopa, when he went to Milarepa, the stories vary. Milarepa asked him to sit and do stillness and samadhi. Gampopa does, and he says, well, how long do you stay like that then? And so depending on the version you read, it's either, up to 2 weeks. And no getting up to pee, no, you're just gone, right? Your body is in a posture, but your mind is in that total stillness for 2 weeks. Some versions say 7 weeks. So these gokpas that are sort of a legend in Tibet, are people who forgot to set the alarm clock kind of thing. So they went into absorption, and you have a way of setting your body and holding your shoulders and your arms so that you are locked in a posture. And so that's why they say there's still somebody there, because the mind is still in absorption. Anyway, you don't need to know about that. I don't think it's going to happen to any of us. But it's just to give you flavors of what we mean by meditation. Shamatha, stilling the mind. So it can become more and more peaceful. In the classical teachings common to all the Buddhist schools, we talk about 4 levels of absorption or dhyana, each with their own qualities. And the Tibetans use that template as well. So shamatha can go very, very deep. Shamatha uses a focus. The point is that the mind is not distracted. Now, why is this important? It's because Gom is about dealing with everything we are, and we are creatures of habit. The habits are flows in streams within our consciousness. Like when you look at a river, there are many little currents inside the one river. We are creatures of habit. So Gom, meditation, is working with those habits to make them better and better and better. So unfortunately, the way our mind has gone, is that it's very scattered. When people sit down to meditate, the teacher says, okay, just be aware of your breath for the next 5 minutes. Within seconds, the mind's gone. You have to bring it back to the breath. It should be blooming simple. I mean, here we are, the crown of creation, human beings. We do so much. And somebody says, okay, now be undistracted. Just focus your awareness and hold your awareness on your breath for 2 minutes. Can any of you do that? And if you think you can, and Buddha could come along and look at it, he would see that although you think you're being aware of your breath coming in, coming out, in the background, there's so many thoughts. And some of them, while you're sort of pretending to yourself that you're with your breath, you're actually quite curiously thinking this and thinking that, working out how you're going to solve this problem and so on. Our mind's all over the place, and it goes to places we don't want to go. Takes us to places, takes us into feelings, takes us into memories, takes us into regrets and anger, all sorts of things. It's out of control. So meditation is there to master the mind. And so shamatha is an absolutely necessary first step in our Buddhist toolkit. You know, a toolkit, if you've got if you're well equipped, you can have a workshop where you've got 200-300 tools, all different sorts of things. But there are some basics. You know, you need at least 2 sorts of screwdriver. You need a hammer and something to grip things. So even if you've only got 10 tools, basic ones, they're absolutely necessary. So shamatha is what will help us to master the mind by stopping its habit of being distracted, pulled into this, pulled into that. It's vital that we take control of who we are. We have to live with ourselves. We are a huge investment for others. So we need to stop this mind from just being pulled here and there all the time by learning to focus and to remain focused on one thing. And then depending on the focus we use, it can have side benefits. But the main point is simply that, whether you're looking at a pebble, whether you're looking at the most beautiful Buddha statue, the main point is to learn non-distraction. Last year, in the short prayer to Vajradhara, and the one that I said at the beginning of this talk, it says non-distraction is the very body of meditation. Shamatha enables us not to be distracted. Then in the list, if we return to it, then we have the likes of the 4 limitless contemplations, whereby we are working there with our heart, our feelings. Love, which is such a hot potato in human life. Life would be so terrible without love. But we are I can't speak for you, I shouldn't, I can only speak for me. But often human beings are so clumsy with love. We hurt each other, we hurt ourselves. It's like, I don't know, I can't think of a crazy enough example. We see the reality of it all around us. We get love, which means this awakening awareness of another being, a tenderness towards them, a sensitivity, feeling all they are. It's an amazing experience to get out of your own head, your own being, and feel there's a whole other person as immense as you are. And then to care for them. All of that's noble, it's wonderful. But then we mix it up with attachment, self-interest, expectation, and then it gets so clumsy and complicated, and people hurt each other through attachment, through expectation. So the problem is we don't often get much opportunity for love. So when it happens, when this opportunity it's like neighbors, both pulling apart their curtains, facing neighbors. You open your curtains, they open their curtains, and then you see into their place, you see them, and they see you. Life doesn't present much opportunity for love. And it's wonderful when it happens, if it's pure to start with. Then we mess up. So addressing that, such a powerful, such a wonderful potential to have pure love. We deal with in the first of the 4 limitless contemplations, loving kindness. We make it vast. We make our love vast. We make it pure. We discover what real love is. It's a huge training. And so it's a meditation. There are instructions, there are things we need to do. We need to work hard on it and so on. And then the same with compassion, the same with our joy, and the same with equanimity, impartiality. And then we have very famously, very importantly, remedial meditations, especially for our main mind poisons. So you've got them in your list. If we have anger and hostility, and we get tense and upset because of this, because of him, because of her, and so on, we tend to anger, or maybe not in general, but in certain circumstances. We find we lose our cool again and again. We're upset. Then we have the remedy, which is loving kindness meditation. We need to love the things and the people that upset us. It's evoked in very dramatic language these days. Face your demons. Sounds like a boxing match. Come on, demon. Let's see you. And then, okay, let's stop boxing. Let's have a cuddle, and this kind of thing. But hostility, the feeling of what makes you uncomfortable, we need to learn love and care. If pride is our problem, then we learn to change places with others. We think, if it's me, we think, what must it be like to have Ken in my life? And, if Ken's arrogant, right? Ken's proud, all the time being looked down on by this person. If with your brothers and sisters, you look down on them, for instance, that happens a lot with siblings. A lot of stuff as kids grow up. Or whatever it may be. In the Buddhist world, scholars, they can get so proud. So we see ourselves through others' eyes, this proud Ken strutting around. And especially the ones we look down on. We imagine what it's like to be them being looked down upon by us. We try and feel it. And then for desire, harmful desire, attachment, we think about the downside of what we are clinging to. We think of the impurities. If we're jealous, then we contemplate what's called the similarity of ourselves and others. Then if ignorance is our main poison, then we ignorance, then we learn the 12 links of interdependence. And that's a very, very, very good remedy for ignorance. So anyway, remedial meditations for our character tendencies. That's another part of what we are, our mind. A proud person, an angry person, a jealous person, quite a sort of thick and stupid person, whatever it is. Then we have the meditations on Bodhichitta, ultimate nature, all the meditations on Shunyata. They're very complicated. There's what we need to learn through ideas, through received teachings. There's how we need to sit and look at our thoughts, emotions, to look at the outer world. Think, is it outer? Is it inner? Examine it, not just thinking, examine it. Is this screen you're looking at just now? Is it inside you or outside you? Of course, the world would say this screen that you're looking at, hello, Ken here, is outside you. One of my first philosophy teachers in Samiling said, this is Tibetan geography. That chair, is it inside you or is it outside you? So then when we explore these sights and sounds that you're watching and listening to just now, are they happening outside you? If they were, you could be aware of them. This is happening in your brain, in your head, whatever you want to call it. These sounds, this image of a strange person with a big nose and curly hair, it's happening inside you. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening for you at all. We rationalize it as being out there, but the experience has to be in your mind. Otherwise, you don't have the experience. It's so obvious. Nobody gets it. It's so obvious. Nobody gets it. They go away and study Prajna Paramita for 12 years. And then one day, all of a sudden, it just hits them. Oh, bloody obvious. Of course, it's all inside me. Otherwise, I couldn't experience it. Even that distant mountain, I call it distant. I'm told by science it's distant. But actually, what I'm seeing just now, of course, it has to be my mind. Otherwise, I wouldn't be seeing it. It couldn't be any more inside me than anything. So anyway, I'm not trying to convince you. You might need 12 years to get around this one. But there are all the meditations of Shunyata, absolute bodhicitta, and then the meditations of relative bodhicitta. We do. Wonderful meditations. Tonglen being one of them. Many of you are doing Tonglen practice. The more we do it, the more we realize just how far it goes. And then I've highlighted in the latest version of these notes, Shamatha and Vipassana. We'll come back to those next week because time's ticking by, and I want to leave a little more time for dialogue this week. So I want to go now to the list that's in Celtic characters, just to make it stand out. When we meditate, it's very helpful to have supportive circumstances. Supportive circumstances. We need a place that's conducive to learning, training in meditation. A place we can go to for retreat. If we can't go to a place, we need a place in our own home, a shrine, which is an island of specialness that will support us when we meditate. If possible, absence of distraction. So it says, go far away from people. People are noisy and they do all sorts of things. So it says, be out of earshot of worldly life. So you might have noisy neighbors next door. That's not very helpful, but we do our best to go to a place where there isn't humans doing what they do and being busy and making all that kind of atmosphere, vibration. But more than anything, we need a teacher. When you meditate, you need a teacher. You might not need a guru in the Vajrayana sense, in the Mahamudra sense, but you need somebody who is skilled and who can help you. You see, it is so easy to learn how to meditate. You can go online these days, learn to meditate in 5 minutes. Simple 1-minute meditation. But I want to, like I said in the before we started the teaching, I'm just going to rub it on for a bit now. Okay, this isn't formal teachings. I think the formal teachings carries on next week. But I want to tell you stories about me that are very relevant to this. In 51 years ago, at this time of the year, I was partly hitchhiking, partly taking public transport from Kabul to Delhi, returning to India for a second stay. And so I was actually going to try and find my girlfriend who I'd left in India somewhere. Fortunately, she was American and dropped into American Expresses to pick up mail. So I wrote cards to every American Express in India and then lived in a very, very cheap place in Delhi waiting for an answer. And I got an answer which said, "Oh, you're back. I'm in this place called Bodh Gaya, amazing place. You know, Bodh Gaya is the heart of Buddhism. It's where Buddha was enlightened. And there's a meditation course starting very soon. I'll pay your train fare. Come here." So I got there, happy to be reunited with my girlfriend, just in time to sign up for 10 days silence and celibacy on a Goenka retreat. So we did a Goenka retreat, which I must say put an end to the girlfriend-boyfriend relationship for lots of reasons. I don't want to spend all your time just with my stories, but the point is this: that was my first really serious, deep meditation. 10 days of very, very strict shamatha, and then what they call vipassana, insight meditation, with Goenka himself. And the first retreat was, there were only about 30 of us. It was very lovely to be that close to him. And like the siddhas in the Kagyu tradition, sometimes he would just start singing spiritual songs in the meditation sessions. It's very wonderful. So then I did another retreat with Goenka a few weeks later. So that was my main practice 51 years ago. Then a year later, 50 years ago, I got to Samiling. I saw Akon Rinpoche, and he said, "Well, what do you meditate?" And I said, "Yes." "And what do you do?" And I said, "The Goenka Vipassana." And he said, "Well, tell me, actually, what do you do? What's the meditation?" So I explained the technique. And he said these words which have stayed in my mind. He said, "Oh, that's like putting a Rolls-Royce engine in a paper airplane." And then he said, "But you're used to it." So he said, "Well, go back," because I was living just outside of Samiling. He said, "Go back and do 12 hours a day." Then I did that for a while and went back to him, and he said, "Oh, now 15 hours a day." And then on the strength of that, we developed a dialogue, and I entered into the Tibetan meditation system. But I realized the value of what he said, because Goenka's, when I was there with Goenka, that first retreat was amazing, because his teacher was Ubakim, and he died. He died during that retreat. When he died, his teacher was in Burma, but it was 5 or 6 shrines in Bodh Gaya caught fire at the same time. Everyone said it was because he'd passed away, and Goenka became the sort of lineage holder. became very powerful, the numbers spread, and you find the 10-day Vipassana retreats all over the world. Great. It's a wonderful method. Someone can teach you how to do it. Anapana, watching the breath. And then Vipassana, which is like sweeping, a body sweep, body scan. They called it sweeping. Very, very meticulous, thorough, internalized awareness. So you can be taught how to do that, but the problem that seems to have emerged with the Vipassana system is that it's not teaching somebody to meditate, it's helping the person after they've learned handle what happens to them, because it's Pandora's box. One of our friends here was letting me know in the last couple of weeks about how body scans, which are done in mindfulness practice, for instance, can seem fairly harmless, but our body holds memories. And if it holds memories of trauma, then it's Pandora's box. You can be actually not making your mind more peaceful and more aware, but you can stir up very deep things. And so what happens is if you've got 100 people doing the Vipassana, there will be some, without doubt, who will start having strong experiences. What it stirred up in me, fortunately I could handle it because I was already well informed, was I started seeing people as skeletons. Now, I don't know if you can imagine that, but you don't see human beings anymore. You see skeletons. It's quite unusual, but I understood what was happening. I understood that I'd awakened a memory from past lives where there is a meditation you do where you see people as skeletons. It's to help overcome attachment. So all of this to tell you that we need a teacher, and not just a teacher, someone who has the skill and the power to know what's going on in you. Once you go inside your mind, take off the lids, see what you really are, and awaken and work with whatever you need to work with to become freer, to become Buddha, to become a Bodhisattva. You need a companion because you don't have the skill. That's what the teachings say. So when it says the need for supportive circumstances, a good environment, we may or may not be able to have go to proper retreats. We might not have the time, we might not have the opportunity, but of all the things that you can't do without, if you want meditation, that's a path. So at the beginning of the notes, I forgot it at the beginning. I said, what is Buddhist meditation? It is not therapeutic meditation. It's not what Taisitupa calls aspirin meditation. He says, I call it aspirin meditation because you have a headache, you take an aspirin, you feel better. And then a couple of days later, you get another headache, you take an aspirin, you feel better. So for many people, meditation is wonderful. Therapeutic isn't bad, it's wonderful. You are stressed, you come home from work, you sit down, you do breath awareness, you do whatever technique, and after 20 minutes, you're much more chilled out, you're much better company for your family, and so on. And then it's invaluable that we experience peace within our mind. But it is not a Dharma path, taking you to all those things I listed before. Because you just go from being troubled to restoring the normal, from being troubled to restoring the normal. You are not evolving. You are not taking yourself on the amazing Bodhisattva journey. So what Taisitupa told myself and other meditation teachers, he said, don't teach people aspirin meditation. He said, you are Dharma teachers. Teach them Dharma meditation. That's a path. So I think that's it. I've got to stop. I've got to stop now. And so we'll make some time for questions and your comments, input. But let's first dedicate anything that was good and useful to all our fellow beings, and that there be less suffering, that there be more happiness. But more than anything, let's dedicate it to ourselves, that we shine the light of meditation in our own minds, and that our own peace, our own stability of being, our own kindness impresses others that they want to know more, that we become a living beacon of Dharma in the world in which we live. Sunam diye tamche zikpane topnenye pedranam pamchene je gana chipalap trukpaye sipe sole drowa rasho janchob semcho rinpoche ma je panam je jorchi je pan nyampa me padon kongne kongdo galwarasho.